off our feature action here tonight. Owen Nyer, number 17, to the inside of number 1. Paul DeRider's 1D. Outside him, Frank Mackin, the number 36M, will be inside that second row. And outside will be Josh Burns Jr. in the 17J. 15 left for the
no smoke.
limited sportsman here tonight.
Has it always been there?
Owen Nyer,
I think so. I don't know.
this year, first career feature win in our limited sportsman, former go-kart champion here at the racetrack on the little track right behind the main grandstand here. Paul DeRider, a couple of wins in the 1D. Frank Mackin's won 2 in a row in that 36M. Josh Burns Jr. just jumped into the limited sportsman a week ago. Still ready to try and taste a victory here for the first time as they come off turn number 4. Green flag is in the air. Nyer's going to take the field down to turn number 1 and 2. Paul DeRider's going to go on the outside. He'll go to the top side of the racetrack. Mackin's going to settle into number 3 spot as they will get in front of the 17J of Josh Burns Jr. DeRider all the way to the outside of the racetrack. And trying to get a bump up out there, but Nyer's going to hold him down the front stretch into turn number 1 and 2. The Rogies Auto Service, number 17 out of Carthage, New York, takes the field off turn number 2 down the backstretch. He will head into turn number 3 and 4. Paul DeRider out of Inlet, New York, the Buzz Shoe Chevrolet, number 1D, goes to the top side. He'll jump all the way to the outside and then right back into that level score. Number 36M out of Edwards jumps up into spot number 3. He'll be followed by Josh Burns Jr. as they exit turn number 2 down the backstretch. Field getting stretched out. 2-car battle for the lead and 2-car battle for spot number 3. And they'll head into turn number 3 and 4. Nyer trying to hold off DeRider off turn number 4. He'll hold on to that early lead and advance down to turn number 1 and 2. DeRider was running the top side. That time he went to the bottom of turn number 2, a little bit slower that time off the bottom side of the racetrack. So Nyer able to open up a little bit of advantage at 3 and 4. It was almost a 1-second lead last time at the line. Nyer drives right through the middle of the racetrack. He takes out the cars. Phenomenal job going straight right through the turn. Leads by 1.36 seconds over the number 1D of Paul DeRider. Then it's a distance back to the 36M of Frank Mackin. Mackin trying to reel in those lead 2 cars. Josh Burns Jr. rounding out the field as they head to turn number 3 and 4. Back up front, Nyer is continuing to try to stretch that lead. And that lead is beginning to dissipate just a little bit. Paul DeRider got a little bit closer, shaved about a half a second off as he went down into turn number 3 and 4. This time, keep an eye on the 1D as he begins to close the gap on your leader. Nyer right through the middle of the speedway. DeRider now comes down about a half a room lower than where he's been running. And that's going to allow him to get a little bit closer. He got off the top of the racetrack and has been able to eat away at that lead advantage. Frank Mackin continues to hold the 3rd spot, followed by the 7 of Josh Burns Jr. off turn number 2. Down the backstretch, they will head into turn number 3 and 4. Nyer back to the stripe. Keep an eye on that differential as they come to the line. And Nyer now back up to a 1.5 second lead, a 1.6 second lead. Down to the turn at number 2. DeRider is second. Paul DeRider trying to close that gap as they'll head down to the turn number 3 and 4. DeRider running right through the middle of the speedway now. Has come down a couple of grooves lower than where he was earlier. He'll bring it right off the middle of the racetrack. This time they come across the flag. Halfway home that time by. Halfway home, it continues to be at a 1.6 second lead for Owen Nyer over the one of Paul DeRider. He'll take it down to the turn number 3 and 4. DeRider trying to close that gap as they continue to work the north end of the speedway. Frank Mackin about 4 seconds back from your leader trying to close as they come off turn 4. Owen Nyer, the number 17, a few weeks back was out west competing in the high school shotgun shooting competition. Now here he is leading a race at Can-Am Speedway. He was out there for the national champion for high school students. Track shooting and did very well out there. They bring him back off turn number 2, representing Carthage High School. They'll bring him off turn number 2 down the backstretch. Paul DeRider still trying to close that gap with the lead now 1.78 seconds that last time by for Nyer. He'll bring the field off turn number 2, continuing to stretch that lead out in front.
the other side
They'll
of
go off
Old
turn number
Ford.
2 down the backstretch. Owen Dyer, Paul the rider, Frank Mackett, and then Josh Vernon Jr. They continue to run that same lineup right from the early going here tonight. They'll come racing up turn number 4. 3 more laps to go as they came to the straight this time. Field stretching out all the way around the speedway. Dyer working off the middle of turn number 2 down the backstretch. Paul the rider running in that same tire track. Then it is a 36 of Frank Mackett trying to close the gap as they go to turn number 3 and 4. Parallel flags coming out. Dyer sets this thing on cruise control down the front stretch all by himself to turn number 1 and 2. Just got to get through the next few turns without making a mistake. Dyer out in front of the field as they work off turn number 4 this time. White flag will be waving. Just 4 more turns of the wheel after he exits turn number 4. Down the front stretch, Dyer stretching out his lead advantage in front of the field. Up to 2 seconds down to turn number 1 and 2. 2.5 seconds last time by. Owen Dyer down the backstretch looking to score his second career feature win here at the Can-Am Speedway. He'll drive into turn number 3 and 4. Dyer through the middle of the racetrack. Checkered flags are out. Off turn number 4. Owen Dyer's going to score the win. He'll be followed by Paul